The main event. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. We have a great program today called School Choice, and based on the hands that we saw earlier, I think this is a topic for everyone. This is going to be our format today. We have two speakers. One, Aaron Cedar, is going to speak for school choice, and Alice LINAHAN is going to speak against it. Each speaker will speak for 15 minutes. And then after the 15 minutes per side, then we'll have it open up for 15 minutes of questions and answers. And then Glynis will handle the question and answers, and then she will close us out for the day. So I'm going to briefly tell you a little bit about our speakers. First of all, Aaron's going to speak for. He was raised and born in New York City. He lived there for 32 years, worked for Congressman Michael Grimm for 4 years as his district staff director, spent 8 years working with Assemblyman Michael Cusick for a state income tax credit for those that send their children to private schools or homeschool. He moved to Dallas in 2014, and he started CEDER & Associates as a political consulting firm, and he started working for EdChoice back in October of this past year. Next, Alice LINAHAN. She is a radio talk show host with Women on the World. She's also an author of Your Child's Number One Threat, 21st Century Learning and the Common Core. She is a speaker publicly throughout the country to educate the public on the truth about what is happening in education. She's the vice president of Women on the Way. She launched Voices in Power in 2011. She's married and has 3 children and live in Argyle. So let's welcome our speakers. And first we have Aaron coming up to speak to us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming. To all the teachers in the room, happy Pi Day. I also used to be a teacher as well, and I'm sure many of you can appreciate this. Years ago, 12 years ago in New York City, I was parked my car in, how many of you have ever been to Manhattan in New York City itself? How has parking been in Midtown? So I parked my car, and you literally have to be a lawyer to know where you can and can't park your car during the daytime, Midtown Manhattan. So, parked my car there, went out to meet some friends, came back to my car, I see I have a ticket. I look up, the signs don't indicate that I did anything wrong. So, like a true New Yorker, I went ahead and decided to fight the ticket. And I go, you don't go to a courtroom in New York City when you're fighting a ticket, you go to one of the agencies and they have someone who's a judge. And I plead my case, and he doesn't really give any indication of which way he's going. And he asks me, what profession are you? What do you do? So I said, well, I'm in college, I'm a college student, but I'm a teacher, I work for the school system. He goes, wow, a teacher, I've never had one of those in my courtroom before. I didn't know which way this was going to go. So he goes ahead and he says, I'm going to do this your first time, you have a good driving record, I'm not going to fine you. I'm like, great, in New York City, besides the actual ticket, which is probably $100, then they have like $70 in administrative fees, $30 and you end up paying like 3 times the value of the ticket. He goes, but what I want you to do is sit in that corner and write 500 times I will not park in no standing. So, I just would like to thank the Republican women of Greater North Texas for hosting this event and for inviting me to speak. It really speaks volumes of a Republican club and Republicans in general. I'm also precinct chair over in Precinct 2016 in North Dallas. We invite people to hear and present both sides of an issue. I've been to Democrat clubs, and that doesn't happen at best. You get one side of an issue, and at worst, if they do end up bringing someone in to speak and give the other side of the issue, they're shouted down and they're called all horrible stuff. So again, I think this speaks volumes for the Republican Party that we are open to this process, and just would like to also wish everyone running for public office, special thank you. It does take someone special to run and put themselves out there to serve the community. So, I'm here to talk about education savings. Like that? Better? Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm going to talk about education savings accounts. So, an education savings account, as defined, is a portion of state funding that is given to the parent in the form of a debit card. There's about $6,000 of state funding that follows a child. We're saying a portion of that to follow the child fully, whether it's public school, homeschool, or special needs school. As it stands today in the state of Texas, how's the funding work with the state portion? If a child lives in, let's say, Allen ISD, the state portion will follow the child into Allen ISD. If the child, for whatever reason, the parents move, go to Plano ISD or Frisco ISD, the money flows out of Allen ISD and goes into the new ISD, the money following the child. However, if a parent decides to take their child out of an Allen ISD, Plano ISD, and put their child into private school, homeschool, or special needs school, the money hits a brick wall and does not follow the child. So it comes out of the public school system, the public school doesn't get it, but it doesn't continue to fund the child's education. Now, I use the word a portion of it, and here's where I think it's a win-win for both sides. If the parent decides to make that choice and remove their kid from an ISD, they get a portion, and it's based on certain things. If it's a special needs student, the parent will get 90% of the state funding, roughly about $6,000. If they're, I believe, 200% of the food stamp allocation, which is a family of four making $80,000, $90,000, they'll get 75%, and then everyone else that gets 60%. What happens with the remainder of that money? Well, the remainder of that money goes to the school that the child was taken out from. So the school will get a benefit that, as it stands today, does not get when the child is removed from that school itself. There are two criteria in order to get an ESA. The first criteria is the child has to have been in public school for the year prior, or the child was born after September 1st, 2012, meaning they're entering kindergarten for the first time. The reason that's put in is because we don't want to create additional funding. This is money that's already been not accounted for, but the state has already taken into account that this child will be going to public school. And then should the child decide not to, then, like I said, it doesn't follow the child. How is this money accounted for? How is it overseen? Well, the parent gets it as a debit card. It could be used towards tuition. It could be used towards textbooks, study aids, virtual-based learning, some of it for transportation. It's overseen by the Texas Comptroller's Office. The money's released in quarterly payments, 4 payments a year. So let's just, again, take the number 6,000. That means for every quarter, a parent will get $1,500. Now, before that money can be released, so you got the money, let's say, from January through March. Let's just use that as a timetable. Now I'm ready to get the money for April, May, June, through June. Before I can get that new batch of funds, I have to account for and submit receipts as to how that money was spent. Show records, whether it's tuition statements, or let's say if a child goes to a speech therapist or a physical therapist, again, just showing receipts. And with that, we hope to eliminate any waste, fraud, and abuse in the system. And again, in the event that that does happen, there are criminal and civil penalties that will follow if a parent decides to misuse those funds. And just some facts, just want to point out. The courts, so there's 5 states that right now have an ESA program, which is the newest. There's 30 states that have some form of school choice, whether it's vouchers, tax credits, tax scholarships, education scholarships, or ESAs. 5 states right now have ESAs. Arizona, there was a lawsuit brought against an ESA claiming it was similar to a voucher. The court there ruled there's a big difference between an ESA and a voucher. A voucher is money that goes from the government directly to the school, which created some issues under the Blaine Amendment with government recognizing religion. What this does is, it gives ESA is money to the parent, and the parent gets to decide, like I said, it could be for tuition, It may not be for tuition. It could be towards other stuff such as textbooks or therapy or transportation. And what they said was, the court opinion was, the specified object of the ESA is the beneficiary families, not private or sectarian schools. The court's opinion stated, depending on how the parents choose to educate their children, this may or may not include paying tuition out of private schools. So that was the basis of firstly upholding the ESA and also differentiating between how it is different from a voucher. So again, I just want to thank everyone for hearing this side of school choice. Why we feel ultimately that the parents who know their child the best should be able to make that choice. What we found also is good public schools, and I'd be lying if I said that the school system is broken and that there's bad public schools. Like sometimes people go ahead. I won't say that. There's many good public schools. What they found in those states that have ESAs is good public schools are not effective because they offer a product that parents want. They offer a good education, and oftentimes they offer services that private schools just can't offer, such as a lot of, you drive around and see people have in their yards signs supporting their child's football team or other sports teams. They have music clubs. They offer different services that private schools can offer. So in good schools, you don't see parents choosing to move their students out. Often, actually, I was just talking to someone, they told me that the Wither School, I believe, which is a public school, has students leaving the private school and trying to get into the Wither School. So that's what happens when there is a good product. But ultimately, what we believe in is liberty, freedom, and choice, that parents should, at the end of the day, have the ultimate choice. That if you speak to people in the real estate industry, Frisco is one of the fastest growing cities in America. A large part of that is the education system. People are looking to move into Plano, into Frisco. I remember I was looking for my parents. They bought a house in Plano about a year or so ago. And the house went on the market. Literally within the day, it was already taken off the market because people wanted to move into good school districts. But again, we believe that the choice belongs with the parent, and that's what we're advocating for. I strongly recommend always look at the bill. Read the bill. There's two bills. There's SB 3 on the Senate side. There's HB 1335 on the House side. Just to better educate yourself as well on the specific bills and see what it says. Just don't take my word for it. And also look at who supports these bills and the movement itself. Senator Cruz, Senator Cornyn, the governor, the lieutenant governor, locally in Dallas, Senator Don Huffine, my state senator. So again, just given what I've said and with the bills, I hope they'll take a look at it, and thank you again for having me.
Thank you very much. Very well done. And now, Alice, if you would like to come up and 35. Again, my name is Alice LINAHAN, and I want to say thank you to all of those elected officials, people running, stepping up to the plate, especially in our school boards, because our traditional public schools with locally elected school boards are what true local control is all about. We are a constitutional republic. And what is happening in this transformation of education, it is a much larger issue than people understand. And whether you're in a traditional public school now, a private school, or even a homeschool situation, there are college and career ready national standards that are applying. When you take that money, that education savings account money, yes, you do have control, but you have an approved vendor list. So is that really control? And what we see in education today, nationally, in all 50 states, is the same shift in education. And I want to play a video so I stay on my time. And some of you may know who Frank Gaffney is. This transformation in education does have national security implications. So I want to play a short video, and then I'm going to tie it back into school choice.
Oopsie.
Sorry. Education, and it is a shift away from academics, reading, writing, math, and history, to an education all about attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors, and changing the next generation's worldview.
I think what's happening in education today is a national security threat to the United States, at least in the future, not today, because obviously what we're doing is creating the next generation of leaders, of voters, of people who will determine the future course of our country. And to the extent that they are, well, being fundamentally transformed, if I can use that expression, I think that has the distinct potential of creating dangers for our country in terms of its future leadership, even its future awareness of the kinds of threats we face as a country and as a people.
The shift is shifting to an education of equity based on equal outcomes. And that shift is dangerous for children because it's actually a dumbing down. And you're no longer being taught to be a unique, wonderful individual who can accomplish great things. You are now being taught using progressive teaching strategies that really push a collectivist worldview.
Under the core curriculum, I think what we're increasingly seeing is a very benign characterization of Islam, one that is frankly not truthful, one that enables those who are seeking to perpetrate a kind of fraud on us, to deny us situational awareness, as the military calls it, to create conditions under which they can advance methodically, systematically, and effectively their agenda of domination, of our submission. Those texts, those curricula are, I'm afraid, enablers of the Muslim Brotherhood's agenda.
And so parents need to go into their schools and ask 3 questions. Can I see what you're teaching my child? Can I see how you're teaching my child? What is the professional development of the teacher? What do the instructional materials look like? And then can I see who's financially benefiting from the curriculum products that my child's teacher is being evaluated on?
I think there's no question that what is coming out of sort of revised texts and the curricula and some of the exercises that students are being subjected to is increasingly a kind of propaganda, yes, a kind of indoctrination, and to the extent that we're not even aware it's happening. So we've put together a series of monographs that look at different ways in which this civilization jihad, as the Muslim Brotherhood calls it, is being used in our country. One of the most important of them, I think, is the work that will be coming out of Alice LINAHAN's book, kind of adaptation of it for this purpose, a monograph. But her larger efforts, her training programs, her book, videos that she's been doing are just incalculably important, exceedingly detrimental to future generations of Americans.
In the United States, we used to have a system of education, kindergarten through 12th grade. And you went to school, you learned how to read well, write well, do math, and you knew history. And when you graduated in 12th grade, then you were preschool through the workforce. In 2002, all 50 states set up these database systems, and they started collecting data on our children. In 2009, those database systems were upgraded with the stimulus package. And then in 2011, Obama changed the regulation. He didn't change the law, he changed the regulation on the FERPA law, which is like our HIPAA law in healthcare. FERPA law is our children's privacy law. And he changed that regulation to, in the name of education research, our children's data can be collected without parental consent. I'm a parent. I have 3 children, an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and an 11-year-old. And I don't think that my children's generation will be free and prosperous like what we've had, which we've been gifted. And so I'm willing to stand up and fight. Once you start uncovering the facts about what's actually happening, as moms and dads and grandparents and taxpayers, we want our children to be free, to follow their passion. And so I'm willing to stand up, and I think once parents understand the truth of what's happening, they'll stand up as well.
What we hear from the school choice movement, and it is a movement, and you have to understand there's all kinds of school choice programs out there. They are represented with the yellow scarves. So you have to ask, who's funding the school choice movement? Who will benefit from this shift in education? And it is interesting, Jeb Bush is a key player in this, and the Foundation for Excellence in Education had a forum in December of 2016, and on the Education Savings Account panel, it was discussed that the Education Savings Account is not an education program. They weren't talking about quality education. It's a banking program. They specifically said that. So this is not, when you hear it, they don't talk about quality education. They just talk about choice. And as a mother who had children in Argyle ISD, which I love Argyle ISD. On paper, we are amazing. We are a UIL Lone Star Cup winning, girls basketball winning school district that my children went to. But it's interesting because my oldest son went to Liberty Christian in Argyle for a year, which Liberty Christian's one of the top private schools in North Texas, and he was struggling in math. And I said, bring home your textbook, I want to look at it. And he said, oh Mom, we don't do it, I don't have a textbook, it's all online. And I said, I want to see the curriculum. And I saw the curriculum. It was all Common Core. So I'm paying for a private school, and my son is struggling in Common Core, math. So he went back to Argyle, and you know the interesting thing is when he told me, Mom, I want to go back to Argyle because when I grow up and I come back, I want to be from somewhere. And that's one of the unintended consequences of the school choice movement. If you hear it on the right or the left, they talk about you no longer have to go to school based on your zip code. That will destroy our local communities. destroy our local communities. When I saw the math, and I look at how my oldest son was taught math in elementary school in Argyle ISD, and then how my youngest was being taught math in Argyle ISD, it was completely different. And the reason why it was completely different is because in Texas, in 2012, our new math standards that are college and career ready, that align with the federal standard, Common Core standards in math, we put them in place in Texas in 2012. That's when you started seeing people like Randy Houchins, a mechanical engineer dad in Leander ISD, who couldn't do his daughter's 5th grade math. And so he started looking at the standards. And what's interesting is they are so closely aligned to Common Core. But what's even more scary is that in November, Dr. James Milgram, who was appointed to validate the Common Core math standards nationally and refused to because it would put our children behind in math 2 to 3 years, he testified in November that the math standards, our math TEKS, are actually worse than Common Core. And children who are in this type of math program for more than 4 years will not recover. So I pulled my 12-year-old out, and I am homeschooling now. The challenge with the school choice movement is there cannot be education reform, which is what this movement is all about, until we get the federal mandates and we get standards in Texas that teach our children academics, reading, writing, math, and history. We've got to get back to the basics. Thank you.
Okay, I know that was a lot of information, and you may have some questions, so we don't have a lot of time, but I can take maybe 2 or 3 depending on how complex they are. Does anybody have questions for either Aaron or Alice? Henry.
For Aaron, your ESA program, I understand you get the parents get money from the state.
Mm-hmm.
What about property tax? Where does that go? How does that change at all?
Not at all, because there's, from what I understand about the school funding formula, also from what I understand, there's about 3 people in the entire state of Texas that fully know the school funding formula. There's, no, what I'm saying is, as far as, there's 3 portions. There's state funding, there's federal, and property tax is not touched in this at all.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Well, all of this is going on right now, and our legislature's dealing with it, but with the new education secretary in Washington, Betsy DeVos, how do you think that's going to affect our legislation here?
I can.
Okay.
Sorry. She is very much pro-school choice. What is interesting is in Texas, we have a commissioner of education, Mike Morath, who was appointed by Governor Abbott. Mr. Morath has no qualifications in education, much like Betsy DeVos. He is a school choice proponent. He was put in place. He has actually restructured the Texas Education Agency, and there are 5 new deputies. 3 of the 5 come from Teach for America, and those of you who are in education know that Teach for America does not put out, they are basically teachers who went through 5 weeks of training in the summer. These people are over our TEA. The Deputy of Governance, this is key, in the state of Texas, who was hired by Mike Morath, is a guy named A.J. Crable, who changed his name from Eric West. He came from Missouri. He was the Democratic treasury. He was the treasurer of the Democratic Party. He has the power of governance in the state of Texas to investigate our traditional public schools and implement the A through F rating. His highest attainment of education is a high school degree. His name is A.J. Crable.
I'm sorry, your question was what can Betsy DeVos specifically do? Well, what impact will she have? On the federal level, there's very little the Department of Education can do. What they could do, though, is try to get rid of Common Core, maybe release money to the states in the form of block grants.
Thank you. Fonell, you had a question?
We in Texas are very blessed with great schools.
Yes.
But you have to look on a national level because our country will not move forward until these children that are in these inner city schools who are graduating or not graduating with very low level skills. And I don't see how either of these is, I mean, I see that I have the one where they get the funds, the pro voucher or the debit card. I can see that being a little bit more helpful to them, but if we're going to keep the school system as it is, what are we going to do for these children? Because it affects us next.
Okay, well, this is just a Texas program that we're talking about right now, so we're really not, I don't.
Actually, it's in.
Do you think it's going to go national at some point?
ESAs are being pushed nationally. This is a part of a broader picture. And to your point, actually, those kids will, the parents that understand what's happening, that their kids are going to take advantage of these options. Most of the inner city children are not going to have access. Even if you take a portion of that money and you take it to a private school, you're not going to be able to afford that private school. Many of those children in the inner city, they don't have moms and dads who can homeschool. So the impact, and you hear this, that this is a civil rights issue. That's the narrative that we're pushing. That was also the same narrative that they used in 1965 that set up the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. That was the first time that federal dollars started influencing our states with Title I money. When you look at the bigger picture, and I invite you, please do your research. As Aaron said, as Republicans, we are blessed that we can have this debate, but do your research and understand that this is not, there is no way out of the system. There is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act that was passed in 1965, 35 pages long, was just reauthorized in December of 2015. It's called the Every Student Succeeds Act. It's 1,061 pages long. And it says that you get local control. But if you actually read what Betsy DeVos is saying in her publications, it's not giving local control. You still have to adhere to the mandates of the Every Student Succeeds Act at a state level. So it is being influenced. And here's the thing. In Texas, TASA, Texas Association of School Administrators, TASB, Texas Association of School Board, they are pushing this new vision of public education that is the complete shift away from reading, writing, math, and history to attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors. I'm not saying that this isn't being pushed in the public school, but their end goal is online personalized digital learning. If you look at what Betsy DeVos, Jeb Bush, and what Stacy Hawk and TPPF here in Texas are pushing is online digital personalized learning. They have the same end goal. It's an $800 billion global industry that they want to tap into. This is a banking program. This is not an education program.
Wow, okay. Clearly, we have a lot of homework to do.